because we had well, we had a lot of variety in our minutes, from a half a page to describe a 2-hour meeting to 8 pages to describe a 1-hour meeting. And basically what we were told is that it's not a transcript. I mean, statements that are handed in can of course be put into the minutes. But as far as transcripts, it doesn't go that way. We got to the point a couple of summers and falls ago where we were having selectmen's minutes that were 12 and 13 pages long. And that happened again last year a little bit, and they're really not designed to be like that, not only because it's expensive to have clerical help to that detail, but minutes are basically just a brief snapshot of what took place. They mention discussions, but typically not too much depth on the nature of the discussions, and again, they're not transcripts. So,
and actually, I don't know if people know this, but we do tape every one of the meetings, and we should hold on to those recordings for at least 6 months. So if there are any issues that need to be resolved, we do have a recording, and anybody can obtain with a small fee a copy of the recording. We should talk about rules, Phil. We work on various types of items in this agenda, most of them being action items. And there is a certain format for keeping minutes for action items. What I find interesting, though, is that we also include a public comment period, and that is not an action item.
We're not obligated to have public comment either.
Well, I think we are obligated as a governmental public agency to allow the public to comment at least once at one of our meetings. I don't think we can go ahead and not allow that. So I think the issue that we could probably deal with as a board is set up rules on how we handle the public comment period. The other areas on our agenda are covered by basic Roberts rules. The public comment period is not, and I think that we need to set some standards so that we have a consistency in how we record the minutes. And I don't think we need to rush into it, but again, if anybody has any question as to what was said at the meeting, we do have the tape. And I think the other thing I want to mention is that we have an obligation with the minutes to produce a document that somebody who did not come to the meeting should be able to review and understand what happened. That is a rule I think we need to follow. And, I know Norm, you wanted to talk about rules.
Well, I wanted to talk in a more general way. The topic of even taping minutes came up several times in the past. Before you were on the board, we had never taped prior to that. When Maria took over, she was fairly new at taking minutes, and I had agreed, at least at that point, that we should tape the minutes. Obviously, anybody can come to any meeting with a recorder. We have them now. They're very small, and people can do whatever they want with that information. And I agreed as an interim thing, whereas I didn't agree to it in the past. I did not support it. It's not that I agreed to it. I did not support the idea of recording video or audio as a personal preference. But at that time, I sort of as a courtesy, and because we had somebody who was new, I had agreed to the recording of it. There is a huge disparity in the way people take minutes within this town. And I think that not only for this board, we should, I don't think we can dictate to other boards and commissions, but we should look at that, and as we select clerks for boards and commissions, we should attempt to have people that understand what the requirements are and then act in accordance with what those boards and commissions choose to have. But I would be quite comfortable, as if you look at a town report, when our town clerk takes minutes of town meetings, it's what the motion was and how it was voted, so you know what went on. The problem is that the minute you start segmenting what comments were put in, and the public's parts of the comments, because we've been generally more open, I suspect, than many legislative bodies have been in terms of accepting those comments. You know, our town meeting is actually the legislative body, but in those town meetings, there's no record for the public to look back on 20 years from now about how people felt about that. It's just the motion and the vote and whether it passed and what the number is. I tend to be thinking in my mind that, yeah, there's an obligation for public comment. It is a meeting, it's a public meeting, but not a meeting of the public. I can't imagine, for example, in Congress, having people in the gallery being asked their opinion in the midst of debate on the part of the people who are there to do some work. So in the public comment part of the meeting, I'd be content if that basically indicated who the person was, or what the topic was, who the person was, and that they made comments. Not a verbatim transcript of their comments. I don't find that as being necessary. If there are comments that are submitted, they're FOIable, they're available to anybody else who wants to get whatever other records there are of the meeting. And I personally am thinking that if I was asked to vote today on whether or not we wanted to record or not record our minutes, I would vote no, because I'm not happy with the way they've been used, and it just, people have a right to do what they want when they come here, but I really, you know, I feel very strongly about the fact that that I spend a lot of time trying to focus on doing the right thing at this job, and I come here wanting to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And as with the discussion that went on back and forth about the trapping of the beavers, there were a lot of legitimate points, and I was sympathetic to all of them. And to go back to something Vinnie would have said, our conversation could have been around the process of how the communication occurred and what we could have done to have helped the commission facilitate the communication. But it was not our purview, and to have an endless discussion here, the best I could say is it's like when my sister calls to complain about my other sister. If you're calling me to vent about it, that's great, but chances are I can't help you with it. And that's really where we were at. So,
You know,
I would like to keep it narrowed down.
One thing about the recording of the minutes, though, the positive side is that, A, it protects the town, and that anything that was said, we have a copy of, okay? Rather than having some microphone or some recording device out in the audience where people can digitally remaster it, so to speak. So I like that insurance. And some of the things that are said sometimes aren't pleasant, and we're a public agency, and there are certain sunshine rules in every state, and I don't think we're doing anything wrong here. And
Right.
you know, I mean, so it's on the tape. Now, in terms of the minutes, actionable items follow a certain format. What we need to do is decide how we're gonna record those views that are given during public comment. Actionable items are run like corporate minutes. Motions are made, you don't transcribe those. In fact, if there's an argument, a lot of companies don't even put that in the minutes. You don't really have to do it in town minutes.
Right.
But you have that as a backup. So actually, I would like to keep it.
Well,
You know,
I'm not
it's just
asking
my
to vote
opinion.
on it now, it's not on the agenda, I'm just telling you how I feel about it. And I'm okay, I'm a minimalist guy when it comes to some of this stuff, because you know that I hate to read stuff. And reading endless public debate, or our debate on it, you know, we make a motion, we vote on it, and that's it. We can discuss it and try to sway each other's opinions and come to consensus, and I hope that virtually everything that comes before us as a board, we vote on unanimously. We know it's not always the case, but I would really prefer to not have